Welcome back, fam. Hopefully, you guys are doing good and having a great day. If you're not, please let me know what I can do to help you. Until then, we have a little bit to talk about today. And before we get into that, I want to address a couple of things with you first. So, I wanted to start this off by saying I want to give people a fair shot when it comes to telling their stories. I think stories are very important. As someone who's been a victim of MLMs, of the military, of the system, I want to give people the space because I know how shitty it is to not have anywhere to speak. And so I want to give people that opportunity to come on and tell their stories. However, if I find out that your story is fake, I'm going to expose you. And here I have two different women, Anya Wick or Anna Wick and Virginia Giuffre. The difference between these two women is that one of their stories is fake, and that is Anya's. Listen, we all know that the powers that be will never release the actual Epstein files. It implicates too many rich and powerful. And so, unfortunately, the only thing that we have are stories. And of course, the oopsies that they, leave for us when they're redacting the files. And so that's why it's incredibly important to know who is telling the truth. Which stories are real, which stories are fake. And that leads into the second thing that I want to address with you guys is that I will be leaving that video up. And I'll be relating these two videos so that people can come to the truth and realize this woman is lying and she's grifting. So that's what I want to address with you guys. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'm not going to go through this video here because I had already posted it. Okay. You guys can go see it. However, I wanted to go back to her TikTok page to view it for myself, right, on her actual page. And wouldn't you know, when I was going through her page, I could not find that video anywhere. I believe this is one of her first videos. Couldn't find her video anywhere. But as I was going through, I saw a couple of videos that stood out to me. There is this one where she is talking about not unaliving herself. And there was another one that she did on a train. And I can't find that one either for some weird reason. But this one kind of stood out to me because she posted some things, and I don't want to click on the video because of copyright reasons. There's music played over it. But there absolutely was some weird stuff with that. I will link this video down in the description below so you guys can check that one out and take a look for yourselves. But it's that there's some questionable things going on there, falsifying documents in that regard. So there's a number of things with this woman that just does not seem right. This video is still up for some reason, but the other ones are still down. So I find that incredibly interesting. Okay. So I wanted to find out who is this Anya Wick person? And as I was researching, one of the first few things that popped up was, well, that IMDb, right? Yeah. Is that IMDb had some things to say about her. Okay, well, that's odd. That's really odd. The last time that I looked at this, it said that she was the world's best source. The world's best source for victims. Or the Epstein stuff. That's weird. They must have taken that down. What does here? Oh, okay. Okay. Right. Yeah, right here. Niece, Cult of All Survivor, and Voice for the Voiceless. Right. Okay. So I've seen her on someone else's podcast, Sean Atwood, and there was this specific part that kind of really stood out to me. I mean, if you didn't think that her bringing up Mickey and Minnie Mouse was a little weird, well, there's this part too.
I was raised getting taken to Bohemian Grove, where I was after a ceremonial corpse burning Alex Jones has talked about. And my memories of these circumstances are still somewhat fragmented. These assaults happened a couple times a month, and I'm blessed not to remember every detail. But my father was consistent in what he told me. It's hard for me to talk about. I want to just answer your questions honestly.
Okay, so only 14 minutes in of a hour and a half video. Okay. So disregard the Bohemian Grove stuff because we already know about Bohemian Grove. That shit was actually real. Alex Jones talked about it some number of years ago. What I wanted to focus in on was the fact that she didn't even really tell her story so much. She kind of just bounced around and she, in pretty much from the get go, 14 minutes in, was saying, I just want you to ask the questions. Right. Now, from the beginning, when it comes to her story, she makes claims of being related to Shia LaBeouf, the twin of Shia LaBeouf. But what she says is that she was born, I believe, June 4th of 88. June 4th of 88. Or let's go back to the video here, just to be sure.
Anna, or Anya Wick, changed from Anna Petrova when I was briefly married, changed from Owen Theodore Epstein when I transitioned back to female, changed from my birth name, Anya Beth Epstein, when I transitioned from female to male. I'll come back to that later. I want to talk about Justin, Diddy, and Blink Twice as conversations I've been seeing relate to my personal experiences.
Okay, yeah. So that's something that someone also pointed out too, is that she's looking off screen as if she's reading a script. So, I mean, that should really be a dead giveaway there.
These are experiences I've been wanting to speak on for a while now, and I've been pretty terrified of retaliation like my uncle faced, or repercussions of general disbelief, but it doesn't matter. When I spoke to the FBI a couple of years ago, they interviewed my perpetrators, who, of course, denied their actions, and the case was dropped. I'm tired of it weighing on me. It's had me sick, and these conversations are happening right now. So, I believe that Justin was passed around, that it's perfect.
Okay, all right. Well, it doesn't seem like this is the video here. So she made a claim that she was born June 4th of 88. Now, looking at Shia LaBeouf's birth date, he was born in June 11th of 86. And like I said, she said that she was his twin sister. However, looking at his lineage, he's an only child. Okay. He's an only child. Said they both had houses out in Colorado. I believe it was Colorado. But he grew up in California. or as far as I'm understanding it, he grew up in California. So, or at least he was born in California. So I'm just really confused on how that makes any sense, right? And then you can get into the whole thing about her father being Steve Epstein, which, well, Jeffrey only had one brother, and that was Mark. So that was obviously a lie. And then you also had a number of other things that she had said about being a victim of Bohemian Grove, which that, I mean, I can't really speak to that, but there's a lot of things that she said that just doesn't really sit right at all. Right. In every single video she does, it seems like there's always some kind of background noise, or that she's doing it out in public. And I don't know why that's the case. But she's been on a number of other things, channels, podcasts. And what I come to find out is that she also has a GoFundMe up. And it's the same picture that is used in this thumbnail. You can see it right there. So I find that very interesting. Very, very interesting. That she's a lone woman coming out, telling her story, and she's not sitting down with Virginia Giuffre. Or, well, I mean, obviously, unfortunately, Virginia's been gone for a while now, which is terrible. But Virginia has been very vocal about her story. Very vocal. And so I wanted to address this with you guys. Um, don't mind that. I was just trying to find out who her dad was, and I couldn't really find out who her dad was. So if you guys happen to have any information there, please let me know. She goes by so many names, it's hard to keep track of everything. I think that's probably for a reason. But I wanted to address these things, and I wanted to get into a little bit of Virginia's story and give her space here for her story. So we're going to watch this a little bit.
I have a big brother that I absolutely love, but we used to poke fun at each other. I was a very happy child for quite a while. I had a normal childhood for quite a while. I loved riding horses. I loved climbing trees. Because I had brothers, I thought I was probably a tomboy more than I was a princess. Until I was 7, and then that's the first time that I encountered sexual abuse. It was from then on. I still connected with the horses really well, but my life just changed, and it diminished that light that was in me. And my mom has like the pre videos and the after videos, and you can see where, in my life it took a different direction at such a young age.
Are you prepared to say who abused you when you were 7?
It was a family friend. I wouldn't want to talk about that any further.
When you reflect on you as a young girl and as a teenager, would you consider yourself vulnerable? Were you a vulnerable person?
Well, considering that I was hurt pretty bad at such a young age, and I don't even think you know how to really say the words of what's happening to you. You don't understand it. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was wrong. And so, from a young age, yeah, you are vulnerable. You feel dirty. You feel shameful. You feel like worthless almost. So, yeah, very.
She was underage, 7 years old and on up. I mean, you're already vulnerable. You're already vulnerable. This is something that I haven't said yet on the channel, but um, I myself was a victim of a predator. Now, I wasn't penetrated or anything like that, but when I was 12, I had a godfather who had became, homosexual, and um, one day we were going out to get pizza. Coming back, there were some talks, there were some conversations going on, and through the trauma, I had blocked off or blocked out a little bit of that conversation. And I remember responding yes to something, and that's when he had exposed himself to me. And then there were a few more times after that. That's something I haven't yet said on the channel just yet. Um, when my mother had asked me if I wanted to go before, the court, because they were absolutely good. I wish I had taken that opportunity. Um, I wish I had testified, but I was terrified too. I was embarrassed. Um, it's not something that I talk about very often, but it is something that has affected my life, and that's why I think it's important. Um, Stories. If I had taken that opportunity to put that man away by testifying and telling my story, probably could have saved others. Because if he did it with me, I can imagine he did it with others too. It's one of the biggest regrets that I have. And that's why I take this shit so seriously. I'm not trying to make it about me. I'm just trying to relate to Virginia here.
Vulnerable.
That sexual abuse that started as a 7-year-old, how often did you encounter that with other people?
Sometimes a daily, sometimes a weekly, sometimes it just varied. It was sporadic. I never knew it was coming, and I mean, I think I had a really hard time sleeping. I still have a hard time sleeping at night because a lot of the times it would happen at night, but you never knew when it was going to happen, so you just kind of lived on the edge.
You had an extraordinary experience in encountering this type of abuse from other people on a number of occasions, even before you met Jeffrey Epstein.
That's right. So after my life took a horrible turn at 7, I was abused until I was 11. And then I was sent away to California. My life was already downward spiral from there on out. I mean, when I talk to you about the shame and the feeling of having no control in my life, all the power taken away, I then started to rebel. So my parents didn't know how to handle me. They sent me to California to live with an auntie, and I rebelled there as well. And then they sent me back to Florida to live with my parents, and they still couldn't keep me under control. So they put me into like a place for juveniles who are out of hand. And then you get fostered out every night. And I managed to constantly run away from that place. And one of the times I ran away, I ended up in Miami, and I was abused by a man, and he owned a what he calls like an escort agency, but it was just, that's a horrible way to call it what it was. It was a sex trafficking industry. And that's when more abuse I endured.
How old were you at that point?
I believe I was 13. I mean, the only problem I have in my life is pinpointing ages and times. Everything is just, it's so hard to exactly know. But I believe in my heart it was 13.
You escaped that sex trafficking ring to find yourself where?
Well, I was more rescued than I was anything. The police barged in one morning, and they took me out of there, and the person who did it ended up dying in jail.
Good.
And then I thought, like I'd been through the worst parts of my life, I thought, as of yet. I didn't know what was around the corner. So I started trying to put the pieces of my life back together. I wanted to get off the streets. I wanted to stop running away. I wanted to stop, hurting myself. And my dad got me a job at Mar-a-Lago. I thought my life was turning around.
When you were working at Mar-a-Lago, what were your dreams? What did you want for yourself?
I loved working at Mar-a-Lago. It made sense to me for the first time in my life. I never knew what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. And it was so beautiful. It was so serene. It was so calm. I worked in the locker room attendance, which was in the spa area. So I saw these amazing women who were massage therapists, and they just had this aura about them that they were all put back together. They all seemed like the nicest people in the world, and they were calm and they were happy. And I wanted something like that for my life. So for the first time in my life, I knew what I wanted to do. And I got a book about massage therapy, and I started reading about it. I knew I was way too young to even start studying it, but I wanted to learn. I started investing my thoughts and my time into what I thought I wanted to be when I grew up.
What happened?
So I'm working at Mar-a-Lago, and I'm reading that book that I was just telling you about. And I was approached by a very proper speaking English lady named Ghislaine Maxwell. And she approached me at the desk, and she started talking to me about the book that I'm reading. And she just seemed very nice. And, I didn't know what she was there for at the time. I do now, but she said, I've got a person that I know who's actually looking for a traveling masseuse. And if you want, I can get you an interview with him. And I said to her, I was like, I'm not by any means licensed, or I've never, this is the first book I've read about it. So I'm not I can't do this, professionally. And she said, no, don't worry about that. You just come over for the interview. If he likes you, we can get you educated. We can get you certified. You'll be a real masseuse, and you'll get to travel and see the world. And she made it sound like it was a dream come true, and it wasn't.
So at that young age, you didn't think this sounds too good to be true?
No, I was gullible. I was vulnerable. And when somebody just offered you
We all are.
a dream, I wanted to be a massage therapist, and they didn't care that I wasn't educated. And, they're just philanthropists helping people in need is what came to my head, what went through my head at first. And I ran over to the tennis courts where my dad was working. And I was so excited. I said, Dad, you're not going to believe what just happened. This really awesome lady just came up to me and offered me a job. I have to go for an interview tonight. Can you drop me off? And he was happy for me. He was really excited. So he said, yes, of course, I'll drop you off. And we got to the house, Jeffrey's house on El Brillo Way in Palm Beach. And it's big, beautiful mansion. I mean, I thought Ron Eppinger was rich, but this was wow, blown me away mansion type. And so my dad and I knock on the door, and Ghislaine Maxwell answers. And, she shakes his hand and introduces herself. And she said, don't worry, your daughter's in good hands. we'll make sure she gets a ride home tonight. And thank you very much. So she didn't invite him inside. She didn't do anything like that. It was just at the door. We'll take care of her, in my own words.
When you reflect on Ghislaine Maxwell, when you first met her, I mean, was there anything about her that was worrying for you?
Not at all. Not at all. She came across as like a really smart, polite, posh. I mean, if anything, she came across very posh. I can't even pretend to try to do her accent. She just, I didn't have any worries. I thought I thought she just cared about helping people in need. And so during the first instance with them, I'm telling them my life story in hopes that they would take that into consideration when, if I get the job or not. And knowing that, like this would mean the world to me if I could get a massage certificate for being a real massage therapist. And I really was hoping that they could see that, I have gone through a lot at this point in my life and I really need help. And instead of them helping, it kind of ticked all the boxes for them to do what they did and get away from it. It was the vulnerability that they looked for in people.
So that's why you were targeted, you think?
That's why I was targeted. That's what made me so easy, I think, for them to use me and abuse me the way that they did.
For you to tell these strangers that you'd been abused, sexually abused in the past, that you were desperate for this job, you must have trusted them fairly quickly.
I just was pleading to the nicer side of humanity, which up to then I hadn't known much of it. And I didn't know anything about them. I mean, looking back now, obviously as a mom, I wish I could tell that child to run away and run.
And then you come to find out when she finally took control of her life and she came out about her stories, they took her life. Like I said, I can't relate to everything that she's experienced, but I can a little bit. And I'm so fucking infuriated. And then this piece of fucking shit comes along and she tries to make fucking money off of this. Well, guess what, Anya? People are going to know who you really are. I'll be damned if I let that happen. I mean, people donating 150, 230, 150 again. Dude, I mean, these people are getting scammed. When there are actual fucking victims who risk their lives. Fuck, man. So, guys, please be aware of the scammers. And please support people like Virginia. If this video helped you out, please like, share, subscribe. Join the family, guys. And if you have your own story, please reach out. If you need anything, please reach out. I'm always here. I love you all. I wish you a lovely day. How do you guys sit? Bye, guys.